Hello and welcome to the fourth and final day of Sibos 2024 right here in Beijing. I'm Jonny Nelson and I'm on my own this morning. Angie Lau is, as I speak, rehearsing her part in what will be a fascinating closing plenary later today. But not to worry, I may be on my own, but I've got lots of great content to share with you this morning. In the next 40 minutes alone, we'll hear from the Bank of England on enhancements to cross-border payments. We'll talk to Citco about outsourcing middle office operations, and we welcome two members of Swift's board of directors. But before all of that, leaders in payments and banking sectors face the challenge of an increasingly complex environment as they take stock on developing technology, regulatory changes, and geopolitical influences. We're joined now by Francesca Nenci, Global Head of Group Trade and Correspondent Banking at UniCredit, to look at this in more detail. Welcome, Francesca, to Sibos TV. Still energized for the last push, the last day of Beijing?
Absolutely, yes.
That's what we like to hear. Now, the landscape of international trade finance has grown increasingly complex, I think it's fair to say, within the recent years. What key three actions as Global Head of Trade and Correspondent Banking are you taking to face this complexity and support the businesses?
You are absolutely right, Jonny. In the latest years, we are seeing every day a more complex geopolitical scenario. We started with the COVID pandemic, followed by Russian war, the Israeli-Gaza conflict, and different geopolitical crises still ongoing. In these, we are even more focused than before on our customer centricity. And as head of global trade and correspondent banking, for me, this means strong effort on digitalization, regulation, and an integrated risk approach.
This phrase, integrated risk approach, what do you mean by that? Shed some light on that.
Absolutely. So when COVID pandemic started, we saw a disruption that we never seen before in the working capital and trade finance business. After COVID, we started seeing the first signs of recovery, but these were put completely at risk by the Russian crisis. Now, as I was saying before, the Israeli conflicts, the worries around the inflation trend, interest rates trend, this is showing you how much the trade finance and the working capital are deeply connected with the real economy. So today, if you want to support your clients in navigating this complex time, you need to have strategic foresight and a timely analysis that is not only considering anymore the economic factors, but is considering the legal, compliance, geopolitical, social environment of the country. This, when you are supporting your business, your clients, in doing business cross-border, or even where you are advising caution due to risk. I think this is what is really distinguishing a best-in-class service level for the clients. That is what they are asking to us.
On the topic of supporting your clients and certainly looking ahead, I want to talk about trade digitalization. What does that term mean to you? And where are we at today with it, would you say? And where are the gaps that need filling?
Trade digitalization is a journey. You are speaking about a business that every year requires 4 billion of paper to be handled. So you can understand also from the operational point of view of a financial institution how this can be a challenge. So we are strongly focusing having a digitalization of the communication with our clients. So enable them to digitally submit all their transactions. This is true for trade, but even for the working capital business. On the other side, in order to keep costs under control, we need also to automate as much as possible our operational process. And for this, we are using innovative technologies like optical recognition character and artificial intelligence. But as I said, it's a paper-based business. So in this case, technology is an instrument to mitigate the disease that is still paper-based business.
Recently, we've seen an emergence of myriad of trade digitalization platforms and different solutions on offer as well. It appears to be a very fragmented landscape, at least from the outset. Given that we may only effectively digitize trade if all actors can be connected to their counterparties. Is there a unifying narrative that brings all of these disparate solutions together in terms of the value proposition for end users?
No, John, it isn't. We have, let's say, part of the end-to-end flow of the transaction that you can digitalize. But today in the market, there's no solution that is giving you the option to have a full digital end-to-end trade finance process. For supply chain, for securities, the situation is different, but for trade, not. Today is not possible.
Now, there seems to be two schools of thought at the moment. Either that platforms will change the world, or that without the legal and regulatory framework in place, we won't get anywhere. Private sector push versus public sector enabling. Where do you guys fit in within that? Can trade digitize without legal harmonization? Are industry efforts being concentrated in the right place?
No, it cannot. And this is strongly linked to what I was saying before, Johnny. The point is that trade finance is involving, a trade finance transaction is involving around, on average, 10, 15 different stakeholders, several jurisdictions. So in this case, if digital documents are not legally enforceable in some of these jurisdictions, the business will still be on paper. I make you a concrete example to better explain probably. If we are speaking about platform when you can use digital document, this digital document will be recognized only by the stakeholders and the jurisdiction where the digital document for trade is legally enforceable. But as the document reach a jurisdiction, and there are a lot where the legal enforceability of the document is not possible, you are coming back to paper. So this means that also the change in the regulation of trade are actually under a journey, because what you need to achieve is the possibility to have digital document legally enforceable, but even across the different jurisdictions. Until this will not be possible, we can use technology as an instrument to mitigate this paper-based business, but not as a solution.
To what extent are your corporate clients interested in the environmental impact of their supply chains and accessing sustainable financial products?
The customers are strongly interested, and we are happy about that on the ESG labeling of the transaction. This is a matter of responsibility for the customer as well as for all the financial institutions. I think we are quite advanced on the product offer for working capital, supply chain, ESG offer. On the trade finance, again, is a little bit more complex because the transaction is more complex per se, and because there's no clear regulatory framework to refer to. And it's important that we are working in the ESG space with all our responsibilities. For this reason, on trade finance, I think we are less advanced because we need to avoid that we are calling or we are labeling as ESG something that finally we will find it was not, and avoid any possibility of greenwashing.
So I'll ask what your conclusions are on the subject, Francesca. What is staff retention like in the trade finance and correspondent banking sector at the moment? Communication versus perception. I
will close it very simple, and is exactly what we see every year in the Sibos meetings. And we saw this also this year. It is true. We have a lot of challenges ahead of us. It's not always simple. This is a business that is really changing, and I think that there's nothing more motivating and exciting, even if, as I said, it's not always simple to be in a business that is payments, trade, supply chain, security, that are all together facing these big changes. And at Sibos, you can really see that this is a business that is so relevant for the corporates and for the real economy that even if the banks are competing, when they are facing challenges that put at risk the sustainability of this business, they are really able to collaborate.
I suppose that's why we're here at Sibos year on year, is coming together to meet people, to find new ways to take on these challenges in the years ahead. Well, we look forward to hopefully catching you perhaps next year at Frankfurt.
Absolutely.
For an update on that. Francesca, so thank you so much for giving us your time
Thank you, Jonny.
on Sibos TV. I hope you had a wonderful week in Beijing.
Absolutely.
And good luck with the last day. Francesca Nenci, Global Head of Group Trade and Correspondent Banking at UniCredit.